A well-known returning guest to Political Insider is Kuhle and Kamani. Now, for those of you that haven't watched, go and subscribe to 10 Minutes with Kuhle. It's a must-watch because this guy gets some information. And when he started to talk about some information this week, I thought, I've got to get him here in studio so that he can unpack it a little bit more. And that is, I'm pretty sure you've seen in the news that there was some talk about the Iranian embassy approaching the city of Tshwane to get use of the city hall in the city of Tshwane to set up a Iranian cultural center that was going to be restaurants and all sorts of Iranian themed things. And I thought that, and surprise, surprise, the man who knows the city of Tshwane really well is Kuhle. Welcome back to the Political Insider, Kuhle.
Thank you, Mike. Always feels good to be home.
Yeah, now tell us about having a little piece of Iran in our capital city of Tshwane. Is this a joke or is this a real thing? You even had a letter to show people.
I did, Mike. I've started to learn Arabic, a little bit merhaba, that's Turkish, but, learning something. Mike, one of the unfortunate things, right, is I think the Iranians obviously sent out a letter to the MMC of Corporate and Shared Services. For those that, so in local government departments have got slightly different names. Corporate and Shared Services, you can compare it to Public Works, right? The MMC Kholufelo Morodi, who we actually had on this show, yes, believe it or not. And basically requested for a piece of land or parcel of land, saying that they would like to use it to build/develop a cultural site or hall which would have a public library filled with, books on Saddam Hussein and all those other wonderful things. Now, obviously, I think this comes at a very wrong time because we've got our issues with the US. Uncle Sam is staring over our backs, over our shoulders, and they aren't happy with this, I can assure you. They aren't happy with this because there's a part that feels like, if you do read that letter and you read the response from the city of Tshwane, basically the deal did not really look like it involved money per se. It felt like, we'll give you this, but just do 1, 2, 3, And one thing I can tell you, and tell you with confidence, is our friends in the White House are not buying that story.
Does it look like there's more to it? Does this look like maybe not the first letter that's changed hands, and maybe there's been discussion beforehand? Is that kind of where we're going to with this?
Definitely, Mike. There've been discussions even outside the city of Tshwane. As we've seen in eThekwini, where the mayor in eThekwini was with the Iranian ambassador. So this is not the first time our local government representatives are flirting with the Iranians, right? And in all of these deals, there seem to always be something dodgy in the deals. It's never a deal to go and build a netball court and off you go, or let us help with your policing service. No, there's always some technical deal that involves property and all that stuff. So one of the big things is this past week, last week, News 24 did an interview, or rather did a piece on this Tshwane-Iran issue, right? And they were one of the first people to break it out before I could share it. But I think I shared it in a bit more depth. But the interesting thing was, when they shared it, City of Tshwane MMC and the mayor sent out a letter to rebut what News 24 was saying. And it even went as far as I posted on Twitter that Iran should... I posted on Twitter that Iranian diplomats are meeting with ActionSA members and public reps, right? And it went as far as senior people in ActionSA that work in parliament, by the way, commenting on my Twitter, saying that, Kuhle, where's the proof of what you're saying? They actually refused this meeting. They say this meeting has never happened. They came out right. I've got the proof on the phone. They say this meeting has never happened. But surprise, surprise, through my networks, I've got a photo of the public reps with the Iranians at the City Hall. I've got the photo. So, and it's not AI generated, you know. And one thing I can surely tell you is our American counterparts are not happy with ActionSA.
Yeah. Well, originally, or in many of the reports, there was talk of this actually leading to the unused City Hall becoming the property that the Iranians would set up their center inside of. By all accounts, the City Hall has been unused for a while, and the idea would be that they would refurbish, certainly the way it was reported, that the Iranians were prepared to fix it up, and everybody talks in hundreds of millions of rand these days. I saw a number of 170 million rand just to fix it up, and then they're going to set up all these other things inside of the City Hall. And so the question, I suppose, that comes to my mind is, do you suppose the Iranians have spotted a soft underbelly in South African politics, being local government, where those people are desperate for anybody that will pay them any attention or pay them any money, to get influence? So now you end up with a cultural center, but you can do all kinds of things because everyone's looking the other way. Or do you think there's direct Iranian interference, or both?
It's both, Mike. And I can even add a third one. Iran is interfering with party politics in South Africa. I don't want... I'll call it allegedly, even though I saw it with my eyes, where I saw an Iranian diplomat, and I'll say allegedly, for legal purposes, speaking over WhatsApp to an MK senior person. I actually got the screenshot of that conversation. I won't go into what was being said per se, into too many details, but you can see that they are meddling in South African politics. It's pretty obvious to see. And the unfortunate part is, local government has got autonomy over itself, as in, it's only the MEC of Kokta and Minister of Kokta. To a certain extent, they only have a little bit of power. But many people don't understand that, according to the Local Government Structures Act, let's say you run Joburg, I run Tshwane. You've got 100 billion rand, I've got 50 billion. You can use that 100 billion and pay people according to how much you want to pay them. There are no guidelines in local government to say that I can pay a director only up to 1.2 million, as in national or provincial, because there are guidelines that you cannot pay more than this, right? So there are no guidelines. People have got power over what they want to do with the money. I mean, this past week, we saw Zweli Mkhize playing, looking like some hero or something in some parliamentary committee, asking the Free State municipality that says that they've got a budget of 15 million rand, I think, per month. I forgot what it is specifically. But out of that 15 million, that Free State municipality was saying that 14 million goes to salaries. You can't make this stuff up, Mike. That is the autonomy that you have. I mean, you've got to wonder that if we run an organization and 95% of our funds are going to salaries, we cannot work with 5%. It's impossible. Which I think goes to what your conversation with Moletsi earlier on this week, where you speak of cutting, cut the wage bill, cut the size of government. That we've really got to start considering cutting and reducing the power that certain organizations have. Because power like this, as for local government to meet with a diplomatic delegation, is very dangerous, Mike. Because what if one day Al-Jamaa, I'm making an example here, what if Al-Jamaa run, they did run Joburg, but run a certain place with a bit of a majority? That means they've got all rights to sell anything to whatever diplomat or embassy or consulate. That means they've got that autonomy to say, okay, you guys want this, we'll give it to you, provided that you do 1, 2, 3. So I believe that international relations needs to be kept at provincial and national. Don't take it down to local, because our local government is in a mess. And the leaders in local government are taking advantage of that mess.
Yeah, because it's so weird to suddenly see the name of Iran cropping up in the weirdest places. We've seen pictures down in eThekwini. We've seen a few a few places, and quite clearly this is part of a strategy that they are, it's not just suddenly the ambassador is everywhere smiling and in photos with everybody, and it's quite public.
I mean, you look at our ICJ case, they were supposedly part and parcel of us taking Israel to The Hague in the Netherlands. You look at that, and then we can't forget there are so many issues. MTN, you can go on and on and on about Iranian relations with South Africa. And all Iranian sort of relations or all ties that we have to Iran are always dodgy. It has never just been a good, pure, and clean tie. I would like to remind you that, do you know that the US in the city of Tshwane actually fund and support the Tshwane Metro Police Department? That's what the US does. Now, I would like to also say that if the US stop supporting certain emergency services, like they have been supporting in Tshwane, remember now, this week, just need to highlight two things. This week, AfriForum won a court battle against the city of Tshwane to remove the cleaning levy. So now the Nasipi administration won't be getting funds through that. And then let's say the US does withdraw all its foreign support or all its aid for the city of Tshwane, from emergency services to all other manner of things. City of Tshwane is going to cripple. It's going to fall down. It cannot survive. This budget that they passed the last time around, before yesterday's court victory for AfriForum, was a fully funded budget. But after yesterday, it has now become an unfunded budget. And I can tell you that the US, I don't think they're going to stick around very long if that city hall does go to the Iranians. Because you are giving away a piece of government property. People need to understand this. This is state property. You're basically saying the Iranians now have ownership over the state property. I will remind you, I just don't have the name of the people. The city of Tshwane, the headquarters of the city of Tshwane, are at Tshwane House. Tshwane House is not owned by the city of Tshwane, well, completely. It's owned by a couple of foreign people, So it's not the first time the city of Tshwane have been involved in dubious deals with foreign diplomats. It's not the first time. But this time, I don't think the White House have got the appetite to entertain what they are doing. And I would also like to go as far as guessing that ActionSA had a bad election last year. Many donors are pulling out of the party. Right? Something I've heard. Many donors are pulling out. There is a struggle for money in ActionSA. When I was there was still a struggle for money. But now things are worse without these donors. I do believe they could possibly, and I would like to highlight possibly, be a financial deal between Iran and ActionSA.
Wow. Because there's also question marks within the city of Tshwane, where we saw the ANC, Mr. Machila from the ANC, who's quite a renowned character within the Tshwane political sphere, basically threatening that the mayor may need to be removed because they want the city manager removed. Tell us what's going on in the city, because this all sort of plays into the same story, doesn't it?
True. Well, Mike, you've got to ask yourself this question, why do you want to remove the city manager? Because no one is complaining about his performance, People are saying that he was appointed irregularly. That's what they're saying. No one is saying that, no, he's a bad guy. Because he isn't a bad guy, I'll be honest, He's very experienced, has been around the block, many municipalities, has done a good job. Now, the ANC and EFF are pointing a gun at ActionSA, saying, remove the city manager, or we're going to have to remove you guys. And Julius Malema this week went as far as to remind ActionSA that you guys are even smaller than the EFF, and we gave you guys grace to make you guys the mayor, And you'll remember that on this show has got a lot of breaking news all the time, State of the Nation and Political Insider. I remember us talking about Nasipi having a tough time after July. I think we said this in June or something.
This was your prediction.
Yes, I said that she's going to have a tough time after July. And here it is now. She is having, because now the EFF have even gone further than the city manager. They've gone as far as saying, let us remove senior managers that were appointed. That's how far they've gone. Let us remove senior managers that were appointed. Now, if people don't understand what is the city manager position, the city manager is a very, it's perhaps even more important than the mayor's position, actually. If people just understand that part. That's why in Joburg, there's always a fight over the city manager. The city manager is the guy that deals with tenders. He's the guy that deals with the finances. Everything goes through him, Everything regarding governance and the actual work of government goes through that guy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such an important position. They want to remove HODs. They want to remove, and mind you, these are highly skilled people that were put in place by the previous administration, that came in from other organizations, These were apolitical individuals that were put in that they want to remove. And time again, one thing that we have seen is if the ANC bring in people, I kid you not, they recycle leaders who have failed elsewhere. They recycle people that failed at other SOEs or MOEs and bring them into new positions. We've seen it in the city of Johannesburg, where the CEO of Joburg Housing was part of another SOE and was allegedly corrupt and all that stuff, that it's just been a cycle that has been repeating itself. And let us not forget two big things that are happening during the month of July that pertain to the city of Tshwane and to the city of Johannesburg. The EFF and ANC recently, well, the EFF did, the ANC is still going. The EFF recently went for their conference in Tshwane, and their leader or regional leader there, Obakeng Ramubudu, lost to a guy, I think it was Benjamin something, whatever, Mabutela or whoever, and then lost to him. It seems like Benjamin would like to come in and take over from Obakeng, the old regional leader. And then the ANC, they've got the traditional fight of Eugene Modise, the deputy mayor, and Franz Bushelo. And if I'm not mistaken, Franz Bushelo belongs to the Fikile Mbalula faction of the ANC. Because there's a Fikile Mbalula and then there's the Panyaza, which has now joined the Paul Mashatile faction in the regions in Gauteng. So it seems like this Franz Bushelo is going to take over from Eugene. It seems like he's got the numbers. It seems like he's going to win at this upcoming conference. If that does happen, get ready for heads to roll in the municipalities. Heads are going to roll because what I know is Franz Bushelo has, sort of insinuated that he is going to remove Nasipi.
Now, just as we close in here, obviously there was a lot of talk and a lot of drama when the previous coalition was collapsed by ActionSA, when they switched sides. Could that coalition reappear?
No. It really couldn't. And I'll tell you why. You've got a battle of egos.
Yes.
You've got people that can't work under someone else,
Some bridges were burnt.
Exactly. You've got to imagine, I could never see the DA agreeing for ActionSA to field Nasipi and saying that, okay, they'll take the deputy mayor. I can't see that happening. Nor can I see Herman losing his arrogance, or because he's got excessive hubris. I can't see him losing that and saying, okay, Nasipi, just become an MMC. And I think one thing is very important, Mike. Oftentimes whenever we speak about these positions that are being fought over and all that stuff, we often don't take into account that there are many people that are behind the positions, right? I will tell you something. Do you know that half of ActionSA Senate works in the city of Tshwane? Did you know that? More than half of ActionSA Senate works in the city of Tshwane. If Nasipi goes today, those guys are without a job. the list goes on and on and on. I mean, we're saying before the show that when the speaker of Joburg got kicked out, 14 people in her office from ActionSA lost their jobs. 14. Now, I know, I'm not a fan of ActionSA for obvious reasons, but I'm not one to cheer on people losing their income or whatever. And it's just to understand the ripple effect that is going to happen after this. That as soon as Nasipi, or if this really does happen, hence, Michael Beaumont said that there would be a riot, like they would fight, if this does happen, because you've got to realize how many livelihoods would be affected by this. We're talking about over 100 people, perhaps in the city of Tshwane, that would be affected if this administration does fall down.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know that it sounds a little bit fanciful to say that perhaps global politics are playing out in our municipalities or in our local government. But this could be, if one connects the dots, to use that terminology, it starts looking like this could be the area of vulnerability in South Africa that could make parties do the bidding of whoever is going to pay the bills. Now, we've got an interview that's coming out on State of the Nation with Wayne Sussman. We're just doing a very basic calculation. The ANC could lose up to 500 councillors in KZN. That's if the vote, if MK just does half as well as what they did in the national election. That's a lot of people out of work, as Kuhle points out. That support staff, that's a lot of people, that's a lot of mouths to feed and worth fighting for, and a benefactor could go a long way. So hold on to your hats, but take local government very, very, very seriously. And what's happening is not to be laughed at, right? When these big countries, superpowers come in and meddle in local government, it's often a sign. But Kuhle, thank you so much for your insights as to what's going on in the city of Tshwane. To everybody that's joined us on the Political Insider, thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again on the Political Insider with some more interesting news of the inside of our politics.